Hello and welcome to this video on imperfect information. In this video we're going to look at what is meant by imperfect information, then relate this to how it causes market failure, and then look at some examples of where this may be the case. So we've said that free markets work well where buyers and sellers meet together. Now that assumes that actually the buyers and sellers know what's going on. Both the buyer and the seller know what something is worth and they know what will be a fair price to them. Now in some situations we get a situation where the information is not very good on one side of the transaction or the other, i.e. the buyer knows more than the seller or the seller knows more than the buyer. And in this situation the market might not function very well. So we define imperfect, or sometimes you will see this described as asymmetric. It's not symmetrical, not the same on each side. We define imperfect information as occurring when traders on one side of the market know things that traders on the other side of the market do not. And as a result, it's going to be difficult for the trader who doesn't know as much to benefit from that particular transaction. This is probably best illustrated by looking at some examples. So we're going to look at how there might be different sets of information between buyers and sellers in the healthcare and insurance industry, the pensions industry, and alcohol and tobacco industry. Let's start off with private healthcare. So in private healthcare, you have a private hospital or private insurance company who will pay for your healthcare and in return ask you to pay a monthly premium based on your medical history. Now in this situation, often doctors know more than patients about healthcare and treatments. So for example, you might go to the dentist and they might say, oh, you know, you've got a lot of fillings here, you need to get this done, you need to get that done. And as the buyer of the service, you don't really know. You don't have the perfect information. You don't know exactly what you need. And they can maybe rig it that they can maybe make you pay for more expensive treatment than you need. And that's not an efficient outcome for you, so the market won't have worked very well. On the flip side, some patients occasionally take out insurance, the buyer, and they know more about their own medical history in the past. Maybe they have some sort of illness, and they might neglect to tell the insurance company, the seller. In that situation, the buyer knows more than the seller, and the insurance company may not charge them a fair premium for the services that they're later going to use. So often in the private healthcare market, one side of the transaction knows more than the other, and this can lead to an inefficient outcome. Let's think about the pensions industry. Many consumers, the buyers of a pension, don't really understand how it works. Effectively, you contribute a little bit of money throughout your working career, and that money is invested on your behalf, and then when you retire, you get the returns from that investment. Now, people don't necessarily appreciate that that investment can go down in value as well as up. So the buyer might not be aware of this, but the seller of the pension is. As a result, when you retire, the amount of money that's available to you might not be sufficient for your needs, and so this transaction hasn't worked very well. It's failed and has led to market failure. Let's think about alcohol and tobacco. So here we have the buyer, the person buying the alcohol or the tobacco, and the seller, the company selling it. Now, the providers of these goods and services, the seller of alcohol and the seller of tobacco, often in the past have been shown to withhold information about the harmful side effects of these particular products from the consumers. So for example, many tobacco companies knew of the link between tobacco and lung cancer before consumers were aware of it, but they continue to advertise tobacco as being healthy and sociable. So in this situation, we have the buyers who know less than the sellers, and as a result, they're consuming more than they would do if they had the perfect information. So the market here hasn't worked very well. So in this video, we've looked at what is meant by imperfect information, how imperfect information causes market failure, and examples of where this may be the case. And ultimately, as we'll see later, where there is imperfect information, there is perhaps a role for government to play in providing additional information to the buyer or the seller, or trying to introduce some laws or regulations that help address the imbalance in information in the marketplace. That's it. Thank you very much for listening.